Hi there everyone, welcome to this video that is very much well overdue. Introduction to QGIS as well as a run through of week 6. I'm not going to do 100% run through because I don't think that's fair, because I do believe that you have to go through it yourself and get the gist of it. So we'll do week 6 as prac, but we'll also throw in a few different things, and things that I think that you might find interesting, particularly from archaeological perspective. And obviously, the question really is, as an archaeologist, why do we need to even know how to use QGIS? And it's a valid question. But think about what exactly QGIS is. Now, I mentioned during our practical that it is not a mapper. It's not a mapping program. One of the outputs from QGIS is obviously a map. That's perfect. That's beautiful. It's actually a lot of people are quite satisfied by the fact that you can make a nice map in QGIS. But what QGIS is it is a GIS. It's a geographical information system, and the fact that it is a GIS really means that it has a lot more power. There's a lot more to it. You're able to store information. You're able to link information together. It's essentially a database. So, for instance, let's look at an example. Let's say, for instance, you're looking at an archaeological site, and there are a number of artifacts that have been discovered. Those artifacts, you most likely give a name. You'd either give them some sort of naming convention, or you would give them a tag. And those tags can actually go into the QGIS database. So you can retrieve those specific tags of those specific artifacts. Let's say, for instance, you're dealing with Middle Stone Age or Lower Stone Age material. With a GIS, you can then maybe do a query. And that's actually part of this practical, is that we are doing a query, we're doing a search. So you might search for where's everything that is Lower Stone Age? Or where's everything that's Middle Stone Age? So in that sense, your GIS application is a lot more powerful than a lot of people might think. In addition, there are actually a number of incredible spatial tools that are available. And the spatial tools add another dimension to this application. And hopefully we'll be able to explore those in a bit more detail. But for now, let's just quickly look at our practical. So as you'll notice, this is obviously week 6 mapping. I'm wearing Indiana Jones hat just to give you a feel for the whole practical. So this obviously goes into a little bit of what exactly a GIS is, and it's really what I've been saying. One of the reasons why we also use QGIS is the fact that it is open source. It's completely free. There are commercial products out there that are probably a bit more, how could I put it? They might be a bit more powerful than QGIS, and there are maybe more spatial tools that are a little bit more advanced, or maybe a little bit more intuitive. But in terms of QGIS, it is actually an application that is incredibly powerful, because you have the community constantly building onto it. And they build onto it either by the frequent updates that we get, or alternatively through plugins. And the plugins is something I'll explain hopefully in a next video. So for our practical, obviously, you're required to log into Vula. You know how to do this. Hopefully, go to resources, go to practicals, and then download the suttonwho.zip archive. And then once you've downloaded, obviously you have to extract that information, because if it's in an archive, you can't use it yet. So you have to remove that material out of the archive, put it somewhere where you know where it is, and then from there you can actually use QGIS. My advice would be to make your file management a little bit easier, to rather put it first on the desktop so you know where your files are. There is a question though that some of the students had, and that was really, well, where do we find QGIS? Or Is it available on all computers? And this is really it's a good question. It's not available on all computers. It is available in the Sci lab. So, for instance, in the computer labs at UCT. The version there is obviously QGIS 2. I believe it's 2.0. And in the meantime, there's been frequent updates in terms of QGIS. So, for instance, if you go to the web browser for QGIS, I'm giving you there's the URL. You'll notice that there is a link for you to actually download the application. So here we go. So the version here is 3.26.2, which is obviously the newest version of QGIS. For our prac, you can use this one. However, when we do the query and we do the more in-depth query, the method is going to be very, very different. And we're going to try to do that as well. But I think for now, what we'll do is we're going to stick with the 2.1 version. So how do I get to the 2.1 version? Well, click on download. You'll notice that it will say download QGIS for your platform. And obviously there's the big nice button for 3.26, which we'll obviously ignore for the moment. We go to all releases. And here you'll notice that it says previous releases of QGIS are here. For if you're using Mac OS, you can download the Mac OS version here, etc. So we click here, and then what we find is we have all these various different versions of QGIS. So we scroll down to the one that we want, and we want 2.10. And there we go. So this is the one that we're going to be downloading. So we're going to be downloading this version here, QGIS, etc., 2.10.1, and that's the setup. You'll notice the file is 277 megabytes. Download that onto your computer. It will go into the downloads folder, or you can actually specify where you want to download it. Or remember your file management. So obviously you don't want to download it to a place where you know where it is. Once you've done that, extract it and install it.